I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 182. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Tardello, coming to you on Thursday, December 5th. And we've got new Bobcats in. We've got an offensive coordinator who's out. We've got volleyball in the NCAA tournament. We've got conference awards for football as well. Men's and women's basketball is rolling. We have a jam-packed episode. I was waiting a little earlier in the week after that game. We haven't even done a recap of the game that happened on Friday, on Black Friday. So we're going to talk about that one as well. We have a lot to go over. I'm glad I waited until later in the week because I almost did one on Monday or Tuesday, but I was like, there's going to be so much change with all this recruiting stuff and all these other rumors swirling around, as we saw that came to fruition here on Thursday with Mack Leftwich off the Texas Tech. If you hadn't heard, we'll talk about that one. We're going to talk about all of it coming up. But before we get there, this episode is brought to you by First Lockhart National Bank. As the largest financial institution headquartered in Caldwell County, First Lockhart National Bank expanded to San Marcos in 2018 and opened a state-of-the-art branch on Hunter Road in 2020. For the past 6 years, FLNB has provided a wide range of financial services that have significantly improved the quality of life for the San Marcos community and beyond. Whether you need personal or business checking accounts, business loans, or home mortgages, they've got you covered. Plus, they offer innovative services like video banking, business banking, and a top-of-the-line mobile banking app. FLNB is also a huge supporter of Tech State football, standing out as one of the largest initial investors in NIL deals for Bobcats players. Be sure to follow them on X at First Lockhart and on Instagram at First Lockhart. Shout out to my guy, Gil Hodges, Senior Vice President at FLNB in MLS, number 2475765, a proud Tech State grad and a diehard fan. We are thrilled to be partnering with Gil and FLNB all season long. You can find them at 2507 Hunter Road. That's 2507 Hunter Road, or give them a call at 512-504-7422. Again, that's 512-504-7422. First Lockhart National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions may vary. And we'll be doing an episode from there soon enough, so look out for that at First Lockhart National Bank. That'll be coming up here in the next few weeks. Hey, Bobcat Nation. Looking for your next real estate move? McNabb & Company Real Estate Services has been proudly Bobcat-owned and operated for over 15 years. They're your go-to team for buying, selling, investing, and managing properties and everything else in between. Whether you're a fan or an alum, they've got the local expertise and full-service support you need. Call them today at 512-667-9129. Again, that's 512-667-9129, or visit them at mcnabbandco.com. McNabb & Company, where Bobcats find their home. Give them a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and X at McNabb & Co. Thank you to Monica Katz, a day one Bobcat supporter. Now she's partnering with us this season. Check them out again at mcnabbandco.com. That's MCNABB, mcnabbandco.com. And a lot of you saw the live episode we did at Zelix. I met a lot of you at that live show as well. They're having another event at Zelix this Friday night. Bobcats Go Bowling Bash. You can get a great deal. I think it's $100. You get a ticket to the bowl game, some other great stuff. That's going to be an awesome event. I know that starts at 6 o'clock on Friday. That's tomorrow, December 6th. I retweeted something about it on my timeline, on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I'll make sure to promote it more on Twitter. Go check that out. Check them out. It's a cool thing that they're doing. It's a great deal that they have going on, and it's a great way to celebrate the Bobcats going bowling. One more for our guys at Austin Patchmaster, austin.patchmaster.com. Drywall, sheetrock, plaster repair, cracked walls, cracked ceilings, painting jobs, dings and dents you need to clean up, popcorn ceiling removal. Did you punch a hole in your wall after that Sam Houston loss that you've been meaning to fix for the last few months? Don't worry about it. They lost their coach. Casey Keeler off the Temple. How about that? Shout out to my guy Leal for posting that picture of Casey Keeler holding up a Temple hat instead of the Took Back Texas hat. That was very, very soothing for me. That was good stuff. But still need to get that hole fixed that I punched in the wall. So got to call Austin Patchmaster, austin.patchmaster.com. Whether you're moving in, moving out, or just looking to upgrade, Austin Patchmaster has you covered. They are owned and operated by a Tech State grad and a true Tech State sicko, Michael Clements, my guy, Michael Clements. Been too long since I've caught up with you and seen you at a game or anything. We need to remedy that. But check them out, Austin Patchmaster, one of our first sponsors. They're back to finish the season. Great time to get back in the mix. Lots going on, lots of content coming. So you'll be hearing us talking about Austin Patchmaster. Again, check them out, austin.patchmaster.com. If you're in Dallas or Houston, they can still help you out with a referral if you call them, if you need some help with your drywall repairs or any repairs you have in those areas. Hit them up. They're a franchise, so they'll be able to give you a referral. But if you're in the Austin, San Marcos area, call Austin Patchmaster, 512-200-3888. Again, that's 512-200-3888, austin.patchmaster.com. All right, let's get to these Bobcats. Right off the bat, I was going to jump into the Mack Leftwich. He's gone, as we said. Texas Tech, off to Texas Tech. Don't know the specs of the deal or anything. Pete Thamel on it. Pete Thamel, he's been on a lot of the Texas State news recently as far as the big breaking news for the Bobcats. So we'll get there. We'll talk about Mack Leftwich, what this means for the Bobcats, who they're going to be looking at to be OC. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about volleyball. They are playing today. I'm recording this on Thursday. So by the time you're hearing this, that the first round game will already have been done. They're playing Mizzou at 4, first round of the NCAA tournament. Make sure you tune in and watch that. I'll be watching that for sure. Hopefully we have this episode out by then, but not likely. Don't think so. It'll probably be like 5:30. So we'll likely miss this game, but we'll have an update on whether they win and what happens going forward with volleyball. Shout out to volleyball, though. Winning the Sun Belt Conference. Talked a little bit about it on the last episode. Great stuff from Sean Hewitt and co over there. Need to give all our support to volleyball right there. Men's basketball, they are 6-3 right now on a 4-game winning streak. I saw some people complaining about the strength of schedule, non-conference. I can kind of hear it. I think the last one was Arlington Baptist and some of these other teams we haven't heard, but it's hard to get mad at the results when you see 6-3, 4-game winning streak. It's nice to just get some wins out of the way before they go to conference, but you'd like to see them schedule some higher caliber opponents that'll draw in more of a crowd. Excuse me, I need a cough button, huh? Those ad reads at the beginning dried out my throat. But they do have a good opponent coming up on Sunday. I'm going to be there for this one. They have Rice coming up, 2 p.m. That'll be a good game. It'd be nice to see the Bobcats taking on Rice. Always have a special place in my heart for the Owls after Bobcats beat them in the first Responders Bowl. But again, yeah, that's Sunday, December 8th, Strahan, 2 p.m. 2 more games until conference play for men's basketball. Really need to talk more about them. They jump into conference a lot quicker than women's basketball. I noticed they're still a couple weeks away. But women's basketball also on a 2-game winning streak, 4-3 right now, 2-game winning streak. I'm going to check out their game on Sunday as well. I'm going to make it a big basketball day. The way I convinced my wife to let me out of the house to do this, I probably have to bring a kid with me. So we'll see. The son, he's 8 months right now. He seems like he's the easier one to bring to these type of places. The 2-year-old, prone to fits, the terrible twos, real deal. But UNT Dallas at noon on Sunday for women's basketball. Strahan, go check that out as well. Football season's over. Gotta throw that support behind some of these other sports, But let's jump into Mack Leftwich. Let's talk about it. New OC for Texas State. This was G.J. Kinney's offensive coordinator at Incarnate Word, as a lot of you know, when they had that terrific season in 2022. Brought him to San Marcos. Last 2 seasons, they've led the Sun Belt in scoring and in total yards, 37.1 points per game this year. I think it was like 474.3 yards per game total. So the offense has been a success under Mack Leftwich. This felt like a matter of time, really, for Mack. I half expected it last season. Maybe teams were like, oh, he's a little young. Now he's at 30. He's right at 30 years old. So I think that eases a few minds at some of these bigger schools. He's very worthy of this. He's leaving it better than he found it, which is that's a lot more than plenty of other OCs before him can say. That, especially the ones that I've covered, at least in my time at Texas State, he's leaving this team much better than he found it. He's going to a job that, by all reports and speculation on X, that he may be making more than GJ Kinney right now as a coordinator at Texas Tech, which is a little alarming, a little alarming, a little sobering when you are just reminded how different the budgets are at for these P4 schools. They're paying their coordinator that. But this is the second coordinator GJ Kinney has lost. He lost his defensive coordinator after his first year, Jonathan Patke. Jonathan Patke went to Duke, joined back up with Manny Diaz, a coach he'd been in his system for a while. So this is after year one, he lost his defense coordinator off to a P4. After year two, lost his offense coordinator off to a P4. Now it's less than ideal, obviously, for GJ Kinney in Texas State, but this is a byproduct of success. This is, especially at this level, this G5 level for Texas State, this is going to happen. And if he left for Marshall, or if he left for like Tulane, or something that even where he made a little bit more money, but it's still kind of a lateral conference move, I'd be more upset. But the fact that he's leaving for a P4 job, one that's paying him a lot of money, it's going to change his life and his family's life. It's hard to fault a guy for that. I'm glad he was here for as long as he was, those 2 years. And I know they really appreciated this place. I know his wife was from this area, so I know they really liked this area. So it had to be something pretty big for them to leave. So it was a pretty big offer. Good for Mack Leftwich. It's a bummer for the Bobcats, but it's really good for Mack, that's for sure. But we saw Dexter McCoyle when Patke left, as we were just talking about. When he left for Duke, they moved up Dexter McCoyle, safeties coach, to DC, technically co-DC with Bradley Dale Pavito. So they were splitting duties, but really he was the, if it was a 60-40 relationship, that it leaned in favor of McCoyle. I don't know exactly how that all works out as far as plays and strategy and all of that. But it seems like McCoyle had the final say there. So that we've seen them do that before, these internal hires, move guys up, give them a promotion, give them an opportunity. One would assume when you look at this roster, the guy they're going to do that again with is Chad Morris. Chad Morris, a lot of you know who he is. Some of you don't, though. That's a little surprising. We should have talked about Chad Morris a little more, especially when he was brought on. I know he was brought on right when my son was born, so maybe I just didn't talk about it a whole lot, didn't report on it enough. But Chad Morris, he's got quite the resume. A terrific Texas high school coach. I typed some of it up right here, so I'll read from of it. Former Texas high school coach for a long time. Most notably, 2 16-0 seasons at Lake Travis, state championship seasons before he ascended to the college ranks. Garrett Gilbert was his quarterback back then at Lake Travis, if you remember that name, former Texas quarterback, Texas and SMU quarterback. One season at Tulsa as the QBOC coach in 2010. Guess who was the quarterback there? GJ Kinney. So that started their relationship. Gus Malzahn, the head coach at Tulsa, then Clemson OC for 4 seasons after that. Pretty successful offenses at that time. He parlayed that into a head coaching job at SMU for 3 seasons, 14-22 in those 3 seasons. That was 2015 to 2017. He parlayed that into a job at Arkansas, a P4 job as the head coach from 2018 to 2019, just 2 seasons, 4-18 record in those 2 seasons. Total head coaching record for Chad Morris, 18-40. So a lot to be desired as a head coach, but not looking at him as a head coach. So we're gonna keep going through this a little bit. Auburn OC in 2020, but he was let go when Malzahn was fired. To be totally frank, they weren't too happy with him at Auburn and the job that he did in Bo Nix's sophomore season over there. 2021, he went back to the high school ranks, 1 season at Allen High School, 11-3, semifinal loss to Southlake that year. And then he went back to the college ranks, and he was an analyst at South Florida, and then he was an analyst in 2023 at Clemson. So last 2 years as an analyst before coming on and joining Tech State as the passing game coordinator and wide receiver coach. And that's where he was this past season. And you look at his resume, and I know some people, they want a younger candidate. They want to get that young and up and coming offense. But you look at that experience on that resume, and yeah, I understand as the head coach at his stops, it wasn't the most successful, but this is still a guy he's seen a lot of ball. He's coached a lot of ball. I could really see this working specifically if GJ Kinney calls the plays. I don't know what they're going to be thinking because Mack Leftwich called the plays, which that's going to be a real fascinating wrinkle to see with this offense going forward. What that decision is going to be if GJ wants to call the plays and have Chad Morris manage the offense with all the other logistics that go into it. I could see that one working out really well. For one, I mean, obviously you don't want to lose Mack Leftwich, but you look at somebody like Chad Morris right there in their on staff already. I wouldn't be mad at this one. I really wouldn't. I'd have to dive in a little bit further on some of his stops, specifically at Clemson and Auburn with him as an OC, just see what style of offense this is. I know talking about it immediately with our great producer, the Wizard, Zachary Webb, he's wondering if they're going to have the same kind of sideline offense where they're going to space it out a little bit. I was texting with Zach. I'm going to pull it up. Sorry, Zach, if I'm putting you on the spot here, but we were texting and he gave me some good tidbits. So I actually just want to pull it up. Go straight from Zach. He does this. Zach's a keen mind out here. Said he identified and recruited one Deshaun Watson out of Gainesville, Florida. Was one of the first guys who saw him, nurtured that relationship. But obviously what's going on with Watson, that's a whole other thing. But to identify a player of that caliber before all of the issues is still nothing to overlook. Serious recruiting chops, he says, brought in a whole bunch of guys. Being said, he called a lot at the P4 level with success. After research, I believe he's the best option available. I like that. There you go from Zach. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it if he does want to go get another young up and coming guy from another school at a smaller school or what they want to do with that OC position. But Chad Morris right there, that seems like the easiest decision for them. So we'll see what they do with that. But also, I don't want to discount someone like Daniel DePrado. If they are pretty set on the internal one, they're obviously going to look around. But Daniel DePrado is right there as well, and he's never been in OC. So this one is way more of a dark horse candidate than Morris. I would say Morris would be the front runner in my mind if they don't go outside. But Daniel DePrado, I mean, he was the intern at South Florida in 2022. Just every time he speaks, you just know he can really, he's a leader of men. I've gotten to be in front of Daniel DePrado a lot more than Chad Morris, so I can speak to this more about him. I just know that whenever Daniel DePrado has a press conference, I make sure to be there. I like to hear him talk a lot. I think he's a great leader of men, a great motivator. That again would probably be something where if GJ Kinney's calling plays, but that seems like a lot of decisions to be made. I imagine this was something that we were kind of shocked about it this week a little bit, this development, but I imagine that this has been there's been whispers for this staff, so they've thought about it before it all came down and happened. But there you go. OC is out, offense coordinator out the door. Mack Leftwich, what an incredible job he did here in his 2 years. Again, leaving this place better than he found it, which is when these guys, they take these jobs that are bigger, that are just paying way more. You can't compete with that. You just have to appreciate what they've done here. And he did a fantastic job, and someone who definitely cares about this area and cared about this job. And he left his impact. Something we got to talk to Nash Jones last week ahead of their last game. And that was something he said about leaving Incarnate Word that was really important to him. He said, as a Christian man, you want to leave a foundation somewhere. when you leave. When you leave, you don't want to leave it barren and it unusable for the next people that come along. I feel Mack Leftwich definitely did that with this offense. He made it so when people think about Texas State, they think about points and scoring the last 2 seasons. That's for sure. And he's a big reason for that. But that being said, a lot of these coaches that are still on staff are also a big reason for that, and they're still around. So I have no doubt that they'll be able to bring the next man up, as you would with the old player analogy. But let's go to Bobcats coming in. Let's not talk about Bobcats leaving anymore. No more of that. We'll have a little bit of that. We're going to talk a little transfer portal as well. We're mainly going to talk about the 18 players that the Bobcats signed on early National Signing Day. 18 players for early National Signing Day. I, for one, greatly appreciate that quantity of players for early National Signing Day because we've seen it before. I can remember one time in the SPAV era, it was 3. It was 3 on early signing day, and it was a bit of a letdown. It was like, what do you write about here? What do you talk about here? There's just not a whole lot going for this one. But this one, 18 players. I saw someone tweet it out, kind of comparing to some of Texas State's peers, UNT, UTSA, and a lot of them were below double digits. I think UTSA was right at 10. But you have some of these other schools, some of these other Texas G5 schools that they weren't getting a class that big. And it was a class, it's 18 players, but it's how many did I put are 3-star? 9 of the 18 are 3-star players. It's half the class. And I would say, some of these other players, they just are a little overlooked and they just don't have a rating because the other ones who aren't rated don't have a rating. They're on 247, they have a profile, but no one's locked in and given them a rating. So this is a really good class for Texas State. 16 of the 18 are high school players, which is incredible. I meant to go back and check this before, but I'm pretty sure it was 10 and 10 for high school players for the first 2 recruiting classes for GJ Kinney. 10 high school, around 10 in each one. This one, 16 already on early signing day. Imagine they're going to get some more before the next signing period opens up on February 5th. So they're gonna have as many high school players as they had their first 2 recruiting classes. All of them from Texas as well. They only had one high school commit that wasn't from Texas. Is from Muskogee, Oklahoma, Jamarian Ficklin. He ended up going to Utah, started getting some recognition. We talked about it a little bit on the last episode. He started to get some eyes from Oklahoma. He's from the state of Oklahoma. Then he ended up going to Utah, which was another school that was a candidate for Mack Leftwich. It was Utah and Texas Tech and Houston. I guess they kicked the tires, but who knows what happened with that situation. But he ended up going to Tech. Part of me was the conspiracy theorist in me is like, is he teaming up with Ficklin up in Utah? Is that what happened there? But nah, it doesn't seem like that's the case. But 16 high school players, just 2 JUCO, both from Jones College, both offensive linemen. They'll have some more JUCO by February 5th for sure. But 16, that's incredible. It's indicative of someone who's developing for the future, who is not just trying to, he even said it at his press conference. This isn't me paraphrasing. I guess I am paraphrasing what he said, but it's not me putting words in his mouth with any of this, where we're having that contract in place made him look back and like, okay, I'm not here to win now. I don't need to get these ready-made guys with experience to put in there so that we can win now. We have set a foundation. Now we need to have guys that we put in there and we develop for the future. And that's what they're doing now. And having an extended contract, a pay raise, that helps with that. That helps to that job security going forward. We're seeing it with Huff at Marshall, the coach over at Marshall, doing a terrific job. They're playing in the Sun Belt Championship coming up, but he doesn't have a contract. They let his contract expire. So now there's all these rumors about Southern Miss and all this stuff going on. So it is important to hammer these extensions in when you can, when coaches are successful and they win, because you see OCs get poached all the time. We saw the Tulsa job open up, and GJ Kinney, people are talking about, is he a candidate there? Central Florida, is he a candidate there? Lots of fun. A lot of you people on Twitter were having fun with the flight tracker. I just sit back, I don't put any credence in those. We've played that game before. It's fun to watch though. That's, I'm not trying to stop anybody from doing anything. You have at it. You sickos. You're the best. You're the best. Don't ever stop. But I wasn't carrying any weight with the GJ Kinney thing, especially after signing a contract. I know some people were like, well, we haven't seen the signed contract. How it works with these FOIAs, these Freedom of Information Acts that you have to submit to the general counsel at Texas State so that you can get information as a public institution, taxpayer money. They have to give you these things, but they don't have to do it right away. You don't send it and then they send you the contract. They have it's like a 2-week window, I believe. It's 14 days. And usually they'll take that time to go through that information and redact certain personal things that they don't that isn't pertinent to what you're looking for. So they take it out, but it could be personal information for somebody. So they go through they go through it and then they send it out. And usually that's about 10 days. So that hadn't happened yet. But when it was signed, when it was talked about 2 weeks ago, I quoted them. I even pinned the tweet to kind of show everybody. We quoted them about the extension and everything. So it was signed, but that's anyway. I'm getting past the point. I'm getting on all these Twitter, all the Twitter conspiracy theories that was going on with Kinney. But it is important because when these jobs do pop up, when that extension first came out, you had other Sunbelt reporters who were saying, "Hey, why are you doing this? Who are you bidding against? You're negotiating against yourself by just throwing an extension at them like that." And it's simply not true. You don't know who you're bidding against in some of these situations. You don't know what's going to happen. So get ahead of it, sign him in, lock him in, and he goes out and he recruits a bunch of high school players and builds for the future. Texas high school players. They talk about take back Texas all the time, and that's a recruiting saying. Take back Texas, trying to take back these Texas recruits that are either committing out of state, they've transferred out of state, or just keeping them in San Marcos and away from these other G5 Texas schools. That's what that's about, and he's living through it. But let's go through it. Let's go through these 18 players that they've signed. If you haven't seen GJ Kinney's press conference, it was incredible. He went through each player individually and talked all about their recruiting and what they meant and why he went after them. It was great. That was one of the best press conferences he's thrown out there. That was some really good stuff from GJ Kinney. Go check that one out. I won't be as thorough. We'll go through them, but I won't have a whole little anecdote for each one for you. But I do appreciate GJ Kinney do that afterwards. He was like, sorry if that bored y'all. It's not boring at all. I could sit there and listen to it all night. But right off the bat, we're going to start with offense here. 10 of the 18 are on offense. So we'll start here on offense with a surprise late last night. Gavin Parkhurst, quarterback out of All Saints Episcopal. This is when we didn't get to talk to GJ Kinney about. This was after the press conference. 6'3", 200 pounds, out of the Fort Worth area. He was a Rice commit. I believe he was committed to Rice before the Bobcats were able to secure him last night. 3 different players that were committed to Rice, the Bobcats were able to get: Tucker Kazano, a wide receiver from Capel, and Simeon Garner. Where did Garner play? Tyler Legacy. So the 3 players they were able to take from Rice. And that's significant to me because I've been covering recruiting a long time, been covering the Bobcats since I was a sophomore at Texas State in 2008 for the University Star, all the way through now. And I really started getting into recruiting with Rivals in 2012. And ever since then, I've been covering recruiting. And that whole time, Rice has always been the bigger program as far as recruiting. Texas State would offer a player, and then if a Rice offer came, that player's they're going to Rice. It's an academic institution, and at the time it had a better reputation football-wise. I can think of someone like Purdy Calderon, if anybody remembers that name. San Marcos High School. He had friends on the Bobcats football team, and he chose Rice. Chose Rice over San Marcos. Eventually, he wanted to transfer in and come back towards the end of his career, but he chose Rice, and that was a pretty good player that would have started here for sure. And now they're able to beat these guys out for Rice. Getting Gavin Parkhurst, I start with him just because we talked about Jamarian Thicklin. They lost their one QB commit. He went off to Utah. We asked GJ Kinney about the quarterbacks at that press conference. Hey, he's still going to get some more because RJ Martinez in the transfer portal, PJ Hatter in the transfer portal, really just leaves him with Brad Jackson at this point. And it was, he said it could be portal, could be JUCO, could be high school. We don't know. It could be 2 players. If they aren't able to get PJ Hatter back, because PJ Hatter in the transfer portal can't officially leave till December 9th when that transfer portal window opens. So he said they are actively trying to keep PJ Hatter out of the portal. And so if they can, they have Brad Jackson, very confident in Brad Jackson. He had some great quotes. I put it on Twitter. I wrote an article for the Express News as well with a lot of those quotes about Brad Jackson where they're pretty confident in him. It's going to be a stiff competition forever it comes in. They're competing with Brad Jackson. So it's going to be, I feel like we're looking at Brad Jackson's season, especially with them bringing in Gavin Parkhurst. Now, my suspicion would have been they go get a transfer. This is what we've seen from G.J. Kinney going back to Incarnate Word with Lindsey Scott. Saw it last year with T.J. Finley. Saw it this year with Jordan McLeod. They go get these transfer quarterbacks and they've had success. But this time we saw them put in Brad Jackson. They put aside R.J. Martinez, a seasoned Baylor transfer who had gotten some playing time during the season. They put him aside and made Brad Jackson the second string quarterback. They had packages for him to run the ball when they'd get into the red zone. They had all this stuff for Brad Jackson, signaling that they really, truly believe in that true freshman. And now that we're in recruiting and it's just Brad Jackson there, it's like, okay, well, if he's worried that was the only quarterback that they have, maybe they go and get a transfer. Just find a transfer, find someone with experience they can put out there. They're confident enough in Brad Jackson that let's go get another high school player. And then let's try and keep PJ Hatter. Because keeping PJ Hatter, that would be this would be year 3 of him in this system. And he would be that's paramount. That type of experience and knowing the system and everything. And so having a player on depth that knows the system, knows what to expect and everything is pretty big. And even for PJ Hatter, I'm not sure what kind of offers he's getting with what they're looking at. But if it is Brad Jackson and you're the second most experienced quarterback on roster right there, you're right there. You're right next in line. So it might be a good idea for him to stay and compete, especially when it doesn't seem like they're going to go grab a one and done who's going to start for sure. They might get an RJ Martinez caliber player to compete against Brad Jackson, but it doesn't seem like they're going to be looking for a Jordan McLeod or a big splash at that transfer quarterback spot. So real interesting that they went and got Gavin Parkhurst, because especially G.J. Kinney also said he didn't want to reach for a high school player at this moment, this late in the process. You know, Ficklin, they'd been scouting him for a long time. He was committed before his senior year and everything. And now this must have been a player that they really had their eye on. So bringing him in, another player to develop. If they can keep PJ Hatter, that would be 3 high school quarterbacks that they've been able to bring in and keep. So that will be really interesting to see what happens with PJ Hatter. Because just because, I mean, you're an injury away, you're a few interceptions away from getting in there. Much closer if he stays than he was before he left to getting in there. So that'll be one to keep an eye on. But Gavin Parkhurst, that tells me that they are real confident in Brad Jackson as well. I really think it's springtime's going to be Brad Jackson's season. It's going to be his time. They're going to give him the ball, and I feel like he'll be the first quarterback to trot out there and everything. And especially the next guy we're going to talk about, they went and got his buddy. The only other surprise of the day, Cole Pryor, running back at a Reagan High School. He was an Air Force commit, and they were able to sneak him in around noon on signing day, signed him up. That was great. That was great for me writing for the San Antonio paper. That was the headline right there. Cole Pryor, way to go. Especially because the Bobcats' biggest commit, I say biggest, the highest rated commit on 247 Sports, Kevon Carter at a Wagner High School in San Antonio, he didn't sign. Although I did talk to him, and I put this in my article. It's pinned on my Twitter if you haven't seen it. But he's still committed to Texas State. He just always planned on signing in February. So that was just always his plan. He's still committed, though. Likes Texas State, talked about the culture and everything. So I wouldn't be too concerned about Carter. He's a linebacker, really good linebacker. But he's their highest rated player. But, you know, I needed a San Antonio kid to talk about. Cole Pryor came in there and did it. Ish Mahdi comparisons from G.J. Kinney, ran track 10.7 in the 100. Real fast kid. So that'll be fun. Arvis Battle, tight end at a Red Oak. It's the only tight end they brought in. And he's a really good one. G.J. Kinney raved about him. NFL body type player, said a really athletic player. Julius Spencer, wide receiver out of Garland, Texas. I'm sorry, Lakeview Centennial. You think he might have been born in Garland. Lakeview Centennial, Julius Spencer. Skylar Lewis, another receiver, Sulphur Springs. And Tucker Cusano, another wide receiver from Capel. All of those guys had really good offers coming in. In fact, I have a cheat sheet. I'll go back to my cheat sheet and we'll talk about some of these offers for these guys. I'll go ahead. I'll pull it out. I got it right here. Let's see. No, yeah, we'll go through it. We'll go through it here in a sec. Some of these offers for these guys, because there's a lot of them. They all had multiple offers, which is, there's some of these classes you'd see where it was like real diamond in the roughs, we'll call, where they didn't have any offers or nobody had heard of them. Some of them didn't have huddles, or that the Spaver. It's like, how can I not even find a huddle with this guy? But yeah, Tucker Cusano. So that's three receivers from the high school ranks, all of them bigger, all of them 6'2", 6'2", 6'1". That's something that GJ Kinney talked a lot about. And I talked about the red zone offense for Texas State before this last game, and how it was really bad for the Bobcats in the red zone. They had a lot of missed opportunities in the red zone. A lot of it had to do with size of targets that they're throwing to. And that's something DJ Kinney talked about, where they didn't have a ton of size. So that was something that they looked for in recruiting. And they found three receivers over 6 foot. They have Kylan Evans, who's a pretty big receiver himself. I'd have to look at Jordan Martin's numbers. That's another true freshman from this past season. But size, they got a lot of size throughout this class. Outside of Cole Pryor at 5'9", 180 pounds, scat back, if you will. He's just as good receiver as a runner, it feels. Maybe not just as good, but a really good receiver out of Reagan, his stats there. But a lot of size all around, especially the biggest one of all of them is our next guy we're going to talk about. One of four offensive linemen, Amir Ross, 6'5", 370 pounds out of Duncanville High School. Just a big guy. Amir Ross. I know I was UTSA, Memphis, Tulsa, UNLV. He had a lot of suitors going after him, and the Bobcats were able to secure Amir Ross. Pretty big commitment, literally and figuratively. Got Kirk Gilden III as well, another high school offensive lineman. He's at a Temple High School, 6'6", 285. Cameron Schultz at a Jones College, Bobcat to Bobcat. Jones College Bobcats, even similar colors. It's kind of strange. They got two offensive linemen from Jones College, Cameron Schultz and Alan Grimm, both big boys. Schultz, 6'4", 280. Grimmy, not Grimm, 6'5", 285. Big guys there. On defense, 8 players on defense. Linebacker, TJ Burkhalter. He's the highest graded player in the class now. Linebacker out of Clean Forest. Colt Sparks at linebacker. He was a quarterback at Sabine High School. There was potential where he could play tight end. Seems like talking about him with GJ Kinney, he could play in a multitude of places. He said he's doing a Gary Patterson impression. He said by bringing in a big guy, a big quarterback, big Texas quarterback, and you figure out the position later. Just get him on roster and we'll find a position for him. So that'll be fun to watch Colt Sparks where they decide to put him. Got Simeon Garner, defensive lineman from Tyler Legacy, 6'3", 240. He was a Rice commit as well. Blake Isbell, I think he was a Tulsa commit. Oh yeah, he was a Tulsa commit for Blake Isbell. 6'3", 235, defensive lineman, edge really. I put DL, but he's an edge out of Capel. He's an early enrollee actually. And I should go back because there's 3 offensive players who are early enrollees, which means they'll be here for spring practice. They will enroll in January. Means they graduated high school early, so shout out to them for that, getting your grades in. Skylar Lewis, the wide receiver from Sulphur Springs, Cameron Schultz, and Alan Grimmy. Now those two are JUCO, so that's expected. But from Skylar Lewis and from Blake Isbell, coming right out of high school to get here early, that's good stuff. Saw it from Brad Jackson. He did that and was here for the spring. That went a long way, obviously. Dante Keys from Bellevue, defensive lineman, 6'3", 215. Jarvis Bell, another defensive lineman from Brownsboro, 6'1", 260 pounds. Greg Gibson Jr., corner from Mesquite, West Mesquite. And Cordarian Powell, corner from Royce City. Might be their best signee of all of them, Cordarian Powell. Really like his film, like everything that I've looked into about him. Let's talk about some of the offers these guys had, because I brought it up. Rice flips. They were able to flip Parkhurst, Cusano, and Garner. It's a quarterback, a wide receiver, and defensive lineman. They were able to get Blake Isbell to flip from Tulsa. I know Arvis Battle, we brought him up earlier. He's that tight end that GJ Kinney was really raving about. This tight end, Arvis Battle, and how he's been seeking a tight end. Like Charles Clay, I believe, was the tight end that he referenced. He's been searching for a player like that and can't find him. Thinks he may have gotten close with Arvis Battle. He had offers from UTSA, UNT, Tulsa, Arkansas State, and Sam Houston. Grimmy, who we mentioned, the Jones College offensive lineman, he had UTSA, USF, Houston, Memphis, UNT. Dante Keys, he had UNT, UTEP offers. Skylar Lewis, the early enrollee wide receiver coming up, he had Houston, UNT, Sam Houston offers. Cordarian Powell, also, is he an early enrollee? No, he's not. But Cordarian Powell, who I think I'm really high on, I think he's a terrific player. UTSA, UNT, Memphis, Tulsa, Sam Houston. Cole Pryor, the running back from Reagan. We know he flipped from Air Force, but he also had interest from UTSA and Arkansas State. Amir Ross, who I mentioned earlier, UTSA, Memphis, Tulsa, UNLV. He's that big offensive lineman. Probably my favorite offensive signee that they've gotten was Amir Ross. My two crown jewels of the class view. I'd say Cordarian Powell and Amir Ross are real terrific. Cameron Schultz, the other Jones College offensive lineman, UNT, Marshall, Louisiana Monroe, Old Dominion. Colt Sparks was committed to Texas Tech at one point. So they're able to beat out a lot of their peers for these guys. And that is something that is very, that's different than what we've seen. A dramatic change that the Bobcats are able to beat out. And especially going after the high school recruits. You see it with the transfers, they've been able to beat them out, sure. But to get these high school players that are believing in Texas State over some of these other programs, it's a big thing. It's just a long way it's come. 9 of the 8 starters are 3 stars on 247 Sports. Now I'll say I'm not a stars don't matter. I'm not in the stars don't matter camp. You know, you hear a lot of people say that about recruiting, these recruiting sites where they put stars by the players. I think stars they do matter, but it doesn't hold the most weight for me. Obviously, I guess it's kind of 3-pronged with analysis of these recruits. Number one is in-person analysis, tape if you have to, but really evaluating if you can see them in person, that's best. For me, for my position, it's tape. It's a lot of tape, huddles specifically. That's the best way to evaluate and see what a player looks like, even out there on the field, because you can read their stats, but then some of that can be the type of offense or defense that they're in that will inflate those stats or deflate those stats even, because if someone could not have a lot of stats, you turn on the film and you're like, man, he's just, look at the reach on him, look how he's getting double, triple teamed, you know, certain things like that. So that's number one. And then you look at offers. Who else is offering this kit? And when you see a lot of offers build up, that's why I go through and I want to go through the offers. These are who other scouts from these programs, their evaluation is on par with Texas State's. They feel the same way about this athlete. And then when it's head to head against these, they're able to beat them out. I feel like that holds more weight than these stars. But I put stars right after that. Stars are still there. So you see a 3-star guy on 247 Sports. A lot of those stars are based on who's offered them anyway. So that's why I feel you see guys without stars, but you see their offers. It's like, okay, somebody just hasn't graded that player on this website, but they've got some good offers. But let's go through the 3-star guys that Texas State did sign. Arvis Battle, the tight end from Red Oak. Tucker Cusano, the wide receiver from Capel. Colt Sparks, he'll be playing linebacker. He's a Sabine quarterback. Amir Ross, big offensive lineman from Duncanville. TJ Burkhalter, linebacker. Julius Spencer, the wide receiver. Skylar Lewis, the receiver. So all 3 receivers that they brought in, all over 6 foot, all 3-star guys. Fun stuff. Blake Isbell, the D lineman, and Alan Grimmy from Jones College. So half the class 3-star rated. I would imagine after signing, you'll see some of these other guys get more ratings that will come in. But really terrific class. Great job by GJ Kinney and the rest of the coaches for bringing in these guys and for getting such a big class, quality and quantity on early signing day. I feel like you can be a lot pickier going into February 5th now. Over the next 2 months, you can kind of sit back and pick who you wanted. I even like them going out and getting Parkhurst. He's admittedly a player I didn't know a ton about till I saw he was signed and everything. So I got to dive in and look more on Parkhurst before I give a full analysis on that. But I like that they go out and get that signal caller and just kind of you answer some questions with that move just by signing that guy. They also have another JUCO DB commitment from DJ Hill Smith. He didn't sign on early signing day. He cited that he recently had a death in the family and he wanted to give it time so he's not emotional before he makes such an impactful decision, which I applaud DJ Hill Smith to have the forethought to do that. And it's probably a good idea to sit back and not do anything when you're in such an emotional state. But hopefully they can hang on to him. He's got UTSA, UNLV offers, got a lot more offers than that. Those are the two big ones I looked at. So DJ Hill Smith, that's another two players they have committed. Kevon Carter, still committed. DJ Hill Smith, both on defense. So we're going to see this class go to at least 20 at 18 right now. I suspect it'll be closer to 30 by the time they're done. Really depends on who transfers. That's coming from GJ Kinney. December 9th, who's going to transfer out? That will play a bigger part on the recruiting strategy going forward. It's a big market for quarterbacks on the transfer portal deal. But again, the Parkhurst situation, Brad Jackson, if they can bring back PJ Hatter, I think they'll be a lot more comfortable with what they've got after that. A lot of that depends on PJ Hatter. I also got Lincoln Filial still on. Sorry if I'm saying your last name wrong. I've never said it out loud, realizing that now. But they've got another quarterback, scout team quarterback. It's not too bad either. Let's talk about conference awards. All Sun Belt awards for the conference released this week. What a big week. Everything going on. I saw Kirby Milan, creative team over at Texas State. Shout out to Kirby. Great dude. Him and CJ, they're killing it. Creative team at Texas State. He was like, who decided to do conference awards, recruiting day, all of this, all this all in 1 week? And I don't know, but it's a lot. It's making for this jam-packed episode, but I'm doing my damnedest to keep it under an hour. That's my goal for this. I'm just talking fast. But I don't want to talk too fast about conference awards because it's pretty good. 5 for the Bobcats, 5 conference awards. Official conference awards, there's the honorable mentions, but these are the ones who landed on the first, second, or third teams. Ish Mahdi, first team running back, second team all purpose. Last year he was first team on both. This year he's first and second. Shout out to Ish Mahdi. 9 yards away from 1,000. He'll likely get that in the bowl game. So that'll be terrific. First time consecutive years having a running back over 1,000 yards in the FBS era, if that does happen. Hasn't happened since Carrington Bush, 2007, 2008. I remember the 2008 year was my first year covering the Bobcats. Shout out to Carrington Bush, a fun player. He scored the game-winning touchdown to beat Sam Houston State that won the Bobcats the Southland in 2008. I was right there on the field for that one in Huntsville. Went all the way to Huntsville for that one. So shout out to Carrington Bush. But Ish Mahdi, first team, all Sun Belt, only first teamer for the Bobcats. A little surprising there. Joey Hobart, second team. His stats weren't as high as last year. He missed a game. So I kind of understand second team. And there's some really good receivers in the Sun Belt. Ted Hurst, Pritchett for South Alabama, some really good dudes. So I kind of get that. Jordan McLeod, third team after winning Sun Belt Player of the Year last year, third team this year. I don't know. Would have put him a little higher than that one. I am glad to see Alex Harkey, though, at third team. Third team for Alex Harkey. That's really good. A bit of a surprise on the offensive line, except that right tackle spot, true competition between him and Trenton Scott, even going into the season. All through fall camp and into the season, undecided, and he ran away with it. And, you can take it with a grain of salt. Pro Football Focus, PFF, their player grades. Harkey's the highest graded offensive lineman for the Bobcats. Shout out to Webb, Wizard, our great producer for that one right there. But Alex Harkey, a bit of a surprise this year. He's a Colorado transfer on the bench most of last season, but they got a good one out there at right tackle. I didn't put down the honorable mentions. I know I've got them somewhere. There were 4 honorable mentions for the Bobcats. Each team gets 4 honorable mentions. I believe it's coaches who voted on that, but Nash Jones got an honorable mention. Cole Wilson got an honorable mention. Stephen Parker, honorable mention. And Jordan Polk, honorable mention. No notes on the honorable mentions. I agree with all four of those guys, and I could even argue for Nash Jones, Cole Wilson, maybe even Jordan Polk. Parker, he just missed some games, so I kind of get why he has to be at honorable mention. But those other three, I could argue for them being within the first three teams. Cole Wilson, I mean, what a terrific season that he had. He was just peeling the tops off defenses on offense. Nash Jones switching from tackle to guard, big switch for him. Jordan Polk, man, I'm gonna miss that guy. I'm gonna miss that guy. Real salty DB. He's just he could just he played angry, hit guys with malintent. That's for sure. I really like Jordan Polk. He'll be missed at that star position. AJ Edwards, we saw him play a lot in 2023, injured most of this year. It'll should be back next year though, so that'll be really good for the Bobcats at that star position. But yeah, that's I would have put some of those guys up a little further. But bowl game, we'll end it with this. Bowl game, don't know anything yet, don't know where they're playing. This is something that I learned last season that we really won't know until right before it happens, just because it's there isn't anybody who's holding on to this information except for executives at ESPN and TV people. Apparently, you have these contingencies for these bowls that will give suggestions. We want this team, we want that. We think this would be good. That essentially none of that matters. Doesn't It's not in the school's hands. It's not even in the bowl's hands. So it is something that the powers that be will decide, and it seems like they decide the bigger ones, and then they'll decide where we're putting Texas State for this bowl game. But that should be by Sunday or so. Hopefully, I have an article scheduled for the Express News to talk about bowl games for Sunday. So hopefully, we know something there. But it's going to be all the speculation predictions of Bobcats. They could be in the First Responders Bowl again, but this time against UTSA. Things like I'm seeing like that, or they're going to New Mexico. We going to Shreveport. We don't know. We really don't, and we will find out later in the week. I did think it was funny that GJ Kinney had before maybe it was during the press conference. He was saying that the one thing he did do was he was beating the table for Hawaii, was making phone calls, maybe he was trying to get a vacation immediately right after the bowl game, which I get it, man. His coaches work crazy hard. It didn't work though. No Hawaii Bowl for the Bobcats. My budget thanks you for that decision, Hawaii Bowl, or whoever decided it. Who knows? Don't know. But that'll do it. Once again, check out the Bobcats Go Bowling Bash at Zelix this Friday night. If you can be there, it starts at 6. Be a lot of fun. Celebrate the Bobcats. Get a great deal on the bowl game. It's a great package. It's in there. I know it's more than just a ticket. So check that out. Check out my Twitter. I'll be tweeting links and all that good stuff. And I'll even throw a link. They have a website for it. I'll throw a link in our description. So check out the description, especially if you're on Apple, Spotify. I know it'll for sure be there. I'm pretty sure it pops up on YouTube as well. But in the link we put sponsored by, and we have links to our sponsors. Check that one out. I'll have one that'll link to that specific event, and now you can buy the ticket and all that stuff. This episode is also sponsored by TGC LLC, the GalindoCollective.com. That's GALINDO, GalindoCollective.com. A team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com and follow their social media platforms at TGC_LLC and on Instagram and Facebook at the Galindo Collective. Shout out to my guy, Rick Galindo, a true Tech State sicko, Tech State grad. He's been sponsoring us since last year, got us the Sunbelt Media Day over the summer, was helping us give away tickets for a TGC ticket giveaway. Can't thank Rick Galindo enough for believing us and sponsoring us for as long as he has. And I know he'll be with us going forward coming up as well. So you'll be hearing me talking about the GalindoCollective.com plenty. Check them out. GalindoCollective.com, GALINDO, thegalindocollective.com. And one more for our guys at Chilsea. You can see this awesome custom tumbler I am holding in my hands right now. If you're watching our YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent, or youtube.com/Win Now or Get Bent, you can see me holding up this Mad Cat on the tumbler right here. Custom tumblers. You order 6 or more of these bad boys. They are $15 a piece. All you have to do is punch in Bobcats at your checkout on chillzy.com, CHILLZEY.com. They also have custom koozies. Again, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, you can see me holding up an array of colors of koozies. That's just 3: white, black, and then a bluish color, oceanish color. You can see the Mad Cat on there. Shout out to Chillsy for giving us these koozies and letting them hand them out to you sickos. You can also get custom koozies on chillsy.com. So check them out. Shout out to my guy, Dennis Redding, a true Tech State sicko, a Tech State grad. He's been hanging with us since last season, letting us pass out these koozies, and it's been a blast. Check them out. Chillsy.com, CHILLZEY.com. A lot of ads. Not a lot of talking in general. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/WinNowOrGetBent. Lots of good content. I know we've got Reese Largent. He's sitting waiting for coaching rumors and all this good stuff to throw on there. So check it out, patreon.com/WinNowOrGetBent. He was buying into the hype a little bit with the plane trackers. He was getting a little nervous. He may have even started a list of potential GJ Kinney replacements, but we won't talk about that list. We'll forget that list. Check out our merch site, WNOGB.com. I'm not wearing any merch today. I'm wearing a Tech State basketball fleece. Just wanted to show some support to Tech State basketball. Yeah, check out our website, WNOGB.com. We're going to be doing something different with our merch. So hang in there. We're gonna work out some kinks with our merch, because there's times we have a live event or something. I want to be able to unload a lot of merch, just show you guys shirts and all this good stuff. So we may mess with our strategy on merch coming up, but still check it out, WNOGB.com. YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Please subscribe. Lots of you subscribe out there. We need those subs. We're going to push to get to 1,000 in this off season. We're getting there. We're getting closer. So if you aren't subscribed on YouTube, please go check that out. Check us out on Twitter at Win Now or Get Bent on Twitter, on Instagram at WNOGB. Thank you so much to First Lockhart National Bank, to McNabb and Co., to Austin Patchmaster, to TGC LLC, and to Chillsy. A big shout out to Zach Webb, our great producer, the wizard, Zachary Webb, makes this whole thing look incredible, looks awesome. Go check out his cinematic recaps as well. Really good one from the last game. It was a loss, but it was still a really good one. Thanks to Reese, of course, our great intern, and you sickos. If it wasn't for you, I'd be shouting into the void. But because of you, you've been able to help us grow, keep this thing going. Our confidence for 2025 and going forward is higher than ever because of what we were able to accomplish this season. And that is because of you listening, tuning in, supporting, all that great stuff. So thank you very much. I do it at the end of every episode, but I want you all to know that I very, very much mean it, especially at the end of this regular season in 2024. Very proud to do what I do, proud to do these pods, proud of the numbers and the growth it's experienced and everything. It's just to feel like it's an awesome community to be a part of, this Texas State community, to be a small cog in this big machine that is the Bobcats that's coming. You know, people are feeling it more and more each year. It's something we've always known. We've always known that this place, it has something special if it's just curated properly. And that something special is you, all of you. That's what when we talk about something special, the sleeping giant, you're the giant. It's not a coach. It's not an admin. It's not anything. You're the sleeping giant. Remember that. You're the giant. You're the one that's got to be awake now. Going after these road runners, talking all that crap. See them out there. All right, everybody. That's enough. I'll get off my soapbox. Just thank you. Thank you very much for tuning in and letting us be a part of this awesome deal that is Texas State athletics in this community. All right, everybody. Go watch volleyball. Win now or get bent.